Done. Happy New Year. When was the last time I recorded? I forget, but Happy New Year to everybody. I'm recording this on the 1st. Might as well start the new year off with some new content, of course. Obviously, my name is Jared. This is .NET Phillies, all Philly stuff. And you might be asking yourself, Jared, there's not a lot of Phillies news going on. Well, since the last time I recorded, the Phillies made some moves. They lost a guy, a pretty big piece. Not necessarily big piece, but I posted about it on the Instagram story. So let's get into it. First things first. I hope everybody had a great holiday, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, whichever one. I hope you enjoyed the holiday season, and we just celebrated the New Year. It was a great for me. It was a great holiday, especially last year. Everybody in the house got COVID, so we didn't really have a Christmas Eve, New Year's. We didn't really have any of that. So I was very thankful to have everybody back and healthy this year, and to have a very nice and beautiful Christmas Eve, New Year's, and New Year's Day and New Year's Eve and all that stuff. The Eagles really let me down, but hey, this isn't an Eagles podcast. There might be one coming soon after the season, maybe, if I brush up on some of my football, because I'm not as well versed in football as I am in baseball. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? But not going to let the Eagles losing distract me from what's important. And obviously that's talking about baseball, because baseball is kind of knocking on the door. We're a couple months out from pitchers and catchers reporting, which it feels like it's going like that, probably because I'm not used to October and November baseball being a Phillies fan. But hopefully that is now the status quo and not just a flash and a hot flash pan, or you know what I'm talking about. I'm all over the place today. Obviously, I shaved a little bit, got a haircut since the last time we recorded, so I'm a little more well put together than I was last time. But I'm not here to talk about my personal life, for God's sakes. That's not why you're watching, or maybe it is. And if it is, it's pretty sad, because I live a pretty boring life. But anyway, the Phillies made a move on professional over here, November 23rd, a couple days before Christmas. We got an early Christmas present. The Phillies went out and signed Craig Kimbrel, 1 year, $10 million. It kind of felt like this was destiny at this point. Obviously, Craig Kimbrel was a big part of that 2018 Boston team. And you're probably thinking, Jared, what does the 2018 Boston team have to do with this year? Dave Dombrowski, who obviously is the Phillies president of baseball operations, was the president of baseball operations in Boston when they got Craig Kimbrel. He was huge for them down the long stretch. And a lot of people look at his numbers the past couple of years like, oh, he's washed. He's not that good. There's a lot to break down here. So let me get into it. Let me tell you why I'm happy with the Craig Kimbrel signing. They not finally, because that's why he signed Knable last year, is they got that anchor in the bullpen. And I like the move because outside of the closer's role, Craig Kimbrel stinks. You saw him when he was with the White Sox, stunk because you had Liam Hendricks in the closer's role. He stunk there. Outside of the closer's role, when he was with the Dodgers last year, was very, very not effective. Now, he will probably be the closer here. If the Phillies want him to succeed, I don't know if it's a mental thing or whatever with him. I think he should be the closer here, and they can use Jose Alvarado and Sir Anthony Dominguez in any situation. If there's, say, you're going into the 8th inning, pardon me, you're going into the 8th inning, you have the 3, 4, 5 guys up, instead of burning Dominguez and relying on somebody else for the 9th. You can burn Dominguez or Alvarado, and you still have a guy in Craig Kimbrel who is very effective in the 9th inning. I saw somewhere, I'll have to bring it up, and I'm going to try to speak in the meantime as I try to find it, because I forget who tweeted it out. But his stats are not as bad as people think. When you're looking at the peripherals of a guy who is primarily a closer, and yes, it gets scary when you're looking at a closer who has a 3 ZRA, but Kimbrel's a guy who can lock it down. He's been very effective for very long. The Philly fans have always made fun of him for his herky jerky kind of wind up, and I'm excited to embrace him as one of us. I feel like he's going to fit in really well here and be a guy who's going to be very effective. And it's probably just going to sound like I'm rambling on and on and on because I'm trying to find a very specific tweet. And I swear to God, if I didn't like it, I'm going to look like the biggest idiot on the face of the earth. I probably already do look like the biggest idiot on earth, but I'm just going to keep going on and on until I find the tweet that I'm looking for. Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is from the Good Fight on Twitter. Follow them. So Craig Kimbrel versus the Diamondbacks, 7 2/3, 9 hits, 10 earned runs, and 11.74 ERA. Craig Kimbrel versus everybody else, 52 1/3 innings, 15 earned runs, a 2.58 ERA. Now that is why I'm very excited for Craig Kimbrel, because he can be a guy who can be very effective in and hunker down that ninth inning. And like we said, this was a match made in heaven. It just felt inevitable. It was just a matter of when Craig Kimbrel was going to sign here. But now you're looking at a bullpen, and I really like the Phillies bullpen, as is. But I mean, add Kimbrel to that. He's pretty much taking over the role of David Robertson and that veteran closer who's been there before and can be a guy who can tackle the innings. But you're looking at a bullpen in Nick Nelson, Andrew Bellotti, Matt Strahm, Jose Alvarado, Connor Brogdon, Dominguez, Kimbrel, and Coonrod, and maybe Bailey Falter. I have some notes about Bailey Falter later on, but it's not a bad bullpen. Nick Nelson showed he can be an effective long man. He's not gonna be a guy who's gonna have like a 2.5 or 2 ERA. Nick Nelson's gonna be like a 4 guy. You throw him out there when the game is 10-0, and that's that. Andrew Bellotti was fantastic last year. I expect him to continue to take strides forward and be a very effective piece. Matt Strahm, I mentioned in the podcast before, high upside guy. I really like the move. I still love the move. Jose Alvarado obviously was the best left-handed reliever or best reliever in bullpen in the big leagues for a significant amount of time last year. Connor Brogdon is going to continue to take steps forward. Sir Anthony Dominguez is going to continue to take steps forward. And Sam Coonrod, we saw when he was with the team in 2021, he was very effective. High velocity guy, just didn't know where it was going. Showed flashes a little bit last year, but was just banged up a lot of last year. But he's going to be a guy that's going to come back and throw absolute heat, which I'm very excited for. I love Sam Coonrod. Not a bad bullpen, and a knock on Dave Dombrowski has always been he doesn't know how to build bullpens, but he looks like he's got one here, and a pretty darn good one. And you have a guy in Rob Thompson who knows how to use a bullpen. What a concept. What a concept that you use your best guy in the high leverage situations, and you don't go to, I don't know, just all that James Norwood in a 7-1 game or Jeurys Familia in high leverage situations. Just what a concept. But we're not here to talk about that idiot. Okay, so as I mentioned, I had some notes about Bailey Falter, and you're looking at the rotation as is on January 1st. Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Walker, Falter / Painter. I do believe that Painter is going to break camp. I do think he's going to be on this starting on the opening day roster. I don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of relying on a young guy. He's 20 years old. I'm not a huge fan of relying on that guy to be a fit starter. Not to say he can't do it, but you're really putting a lot of pressure on a guy who you just drafted, who is, you could make the argument that he is the best pitching prospect in baseball right now. There's no reason. I mean, he's at least one of them. And I think if I'm Dave Dombrowski, I'm trading for another starter. I don't know who I had my heart set on Nathan Eovaldi. However, he signed with Texas. I thought that could be a smart move. You also had a guy like Corey Kluber out there. You had, God, I don't know who else. But I would love the idea of another arm. I mean, Drew Smiley even would have been fine. Not fine, but like effective maybe. But I think if I'm Dombrowski, I'm trading for another starter. I don't know who. I don't know if you're going to go get an ace. I don't know if you're going to get a 3, 4. I feel like it wouldn't cost you that much to go out and get you need a 5 essentially, because your 1 through 4 is pretty set. And have Painter in the back as a 6-man. Falter, I think. I'm excited to see what Bailey Falter is going to do. He showed flashes of being excellent last year. He's a guy who takes a little bit of time to ramp up in a game. We saw that They were mentioning that in the NLCS when he got rocked around by the Padres, that Falter's a guy who gets better as the game progresses. But in high leverage situations like that, you can't really afford to just have him be fine and to ramp up like that. So I'm very excited to see what kind of strides that Bailey Falter is going to take, and I'm very excited to see what they decide to do with Andrew Painter. I loved the move when they drafted him. I thought it was a very under the radar move. But we'll see. And then, unfortunately, let me give a salute. We had to say goodbye to Gene Segura. He signed a 2-year, $17 million deal with the Miami Marlins. So don't worry, Philly fans. We'll be seeing plenty of Jimmy Siggs. I love the move for Miami. They needed a contact guy. They need any sort of help in that and in that Marlins lineup. I like the move for him. If say they're out of contention, let's be honest. The Marlins probably are going to be out of contention. They could flip him to a contender. So I like the move, especially 2 years. If you want to flip him this year, you could get probably a lot more back for him because he's going to be a damn good player for you guys. I'm very sad to see him go, but obviously everybody knew that he wasn't going to re-sign with the Phillies, especially after the Phillies signed Trey Turner, which is still a sentence I can't believe I said. The Phillies have Trey Turner. But so I have top three Jimmy Siggs moments. Number one, in no particular order. The first one I wrote down was the 2019 walk-off against Edwin Diaz. If you remember, the Phillies blew the lead in the ninth, only for Edwin Diaz to say, we're going to do this together. We're going to blow leads together. And then he gave up that walk-off home run to Gene Segura. The next one was the National League wild card, the ninth inning hit. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. The one that squibbed through the right side, gave the Phillies the lead and kind of set them in gear en route to the World Series. And another one I loved was this year when the Marlins walked JT to get to professional over here. When the Marlins walked JT to get to Gene Segura, and before JT could even take off his elbow guard, Gene Segura was already in the batter's box ready to go, and then he hits the walk-off. So good luck to Gene Segura. I wish you nothing but the best. And, I'm going to throw in a little promo here. I've been doing these updates on my .NET Phillies account. You see breaking. I've been trying some different stuff for the new year, and people seem to be responding well to it, which is great to see. And you know how appreciative I am and grateful I am for everything. This past year in 2022, it was a great year for me, for this content, for this channel, for whatever this is going to be. I'm excited to see what 2023 holds. It's going to be great. We're going to get a full season of this podcast, a full season of baseball again. I'm going to be covering, I do have another segment, so this isn't the end. So don't think I'm leaving you already. It's only been a few minutes. There is, I will be covering some spring training stuff, who gets cut, what the 40 man's going to look like, how pitchers are looking. Obviously, take every take and everything with a grain of salt, because in spring training, you have guys who look incredible, like Scott Kingery did in 2018, and then he gets a 6-year contract extension before he even plays a Major League Baseball game and ends up stinking in the regular season. So my takes will be a little contained during spring training. But obviously, to talk about Major League Baseball games again is going to be great. The World Baseball Classic is also coming up. I'm going to try to cover those games. I know it's not Phillies related, but it's still baseball content. It's still baseball related, and there are some Phillies players on there. And I just love baseball. I love America. So why not talk about both these things? So now I'm going to do something a little different. We're trying something new. I'm going to share my screen right here. And what do we got here? Oh, we got a little tier list action. This is courtesy of O'Rory on Twitter. Why not? Let's try something different. So basically we have like the S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, at like the not great. Nick Nelson, he's not going to go. I don't agree with the way these are formatted, but hey, what are you going to do? First guy up, D-Rob. Obviously, for people who don't know, I'm going to drag this guy into what tier I think he is, and give him a brief explanation about why. So David Robertson, I'm gonna put him in B tier, and here's why. I think. Oh wait, can I like edit this? Wait a minute, hold on. Oh, I can. Oh well, now this is just embarrassing. This is just weird now. Oh, any Hoosers, didn't realize I could edit it. I would have edited it beforehand, but I just realized this. Okay. David Robertson did exactly what we expected him to do. He was pretty good with the Cubs. We got him for Ben Brown, which I thought was an overpay. I still think is an overpay, but those are the kind of sacrifices you make when you're trying to win a World Series, which the Phillies were 2 wins away from doing. I'll never forget it. Okay. David Robertson was fine with us. He got hurt a little bit. He was a little banged up, missed some time, but he was fine. He did exactly what we needed him to do. Came in high leverage situations, was pretty effective. Towards the end of his tenure here, he was pretty stinky. Pretty, I don't want to see that guy pitch ever again in my entire life. Especially what he did to my heart palpitations during the NLCS clincher before Ranger came in. He was fine. I'm putting him in B tier. He was good. He did exactly what we wanted him to do. It's fine. Ranger, A tier. Ranger, I'm just putting like pretty neat. Ranger goes in pretty neat. Ranger Suarez, I literally don't think this guy has a pulse. Even when his best stuff isn't on, he's still getting outs. He is still productive. If I'm the Phillies, I'm looking to give him a contract extension as soon as you can. I understand there's a guy down here that is in need of a new contract, who's a free agent after this year. But if I'm you guys, if I'm the Phils, I'm looking, this is the guy that you want to give money to, and pretty cheap if you can, because this guy's going to be worth a lot of money. I think he's going to take a big step this year. I don't even think there's any more steps to take, honestly. I think Ranger has solidified himself as one of the better starters in baseball, and I think he's just going to continue to build off of that. Noah Syndergaard, I'm going to put in like average, like fine. Like he was fine. Like Noah Syndergaard wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was just fine. He didn't lose us games. So here's my thing. When he was a starter during the regular season, when you acquired him, he wasn't that good. I didn't expect him to be that good. I'm looking at him when he went to the bullpen in the playoffs. I thought he was fantastic in that role that Rob Thompson gave him, kind of the opener, guy who can come in, take down 2-3 innings and do his job. We saw him twice with the bullpen games that Syndergaard started. He went 3 innings, did exactly what he needed him to do. So I think Noah Syndergaard was fine. I'm gonna miss him. Like I said on my Instagram, and I said to you guys here, I wish him nothing but the best. You guys know that I've wanted Syndergaard to resign here, but I wish him nothing but the best in LA. And I hope he is. And I hope he doesn't have to pitch against us, because if I know guys who are injury ridden with the Dodgers, they just figure it out. They figure guys out, and it's annoying. But whatever. Zach Wheeler, S tier. Like, come on, like God. Like, we all know Zach Wheeler, he should have won the Cy Young in 2021. I still think that Corbin Burns shouldn't have, especially with the innings difference, and the ERA difference wasn't that crazy. But anyway, Zach Wheeler is a top 5 starter in baseball. He is elite. This contract he's on might be one of the best contracts in baseball. I think he is a guy that is just going to keep getting better and better. I'm a little worried this year with him because he pitched so many innings that he's going to be a little fatigued and not great. Not to say he's not great, but it's going to be a little slower start for Zach Wheeler. And I think a lot of these guys, it's going to be a little bit of a slower start. So I think we'll be fine. I think it's going to be, we'll be fine. It's going to be fine. Zach Wheeler, God. JT Realmuto, God. Dog. He's got that dog in him. Actually, I'm going to change this to dog in him. Yeah. Zach Wheeler, dog in him. It's finished 7th in MVP voting, 20 bases, 20 stolen bases, 20 home runs. It's just, what more can you say? Like, JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball. He's going to continue to be the best catcher in baseball. He is fantastic. I love him. That's why I have 2 of his jerseys. He's my favorite player. He's without a doubt the best catcher in baseball, and he's just going to continue to do so. And he's the anchor that holds down that Phillies pitching rotation. Garrett Stubbs, dogging him. Don't care. Statistically, his counting statistics, he was still pretty good. Um, everybody knows I love Garrett Stubbs. Everybody knows he's my white whale to get on this podcast. Garrett, if you're listening, buddy, I would love to have you on. I know you got a lot on your plate and everything. Congratulations on playing for Team Israel. That's good for you, man. I would love to have you on. Just have a little conversation. It'd be pretty cool. Pretty neat. He's got that dog in him. Garrett Stubbs. I love Garrett Stubbs. He's an electric factory. He's a guy who isn't a liability when he's out there, however often when JT isn't playing. He's a guy who can get you a couple hits, steal a base, throw some guys out. Like he's pretty damn good out there. He's not a liability when he's not a liability when he's out there, and I love him. Alec Bohm, I'm gonna put him in good. Alec Bohm is a guy who took a lot of strides forward this year in a lot of ways, defensively, offensively. My only knock on him is I wish he hit for a little more power. And I think that's just going to come. He's still pretty young. I still think that power is going to be developed. But what he took when he said, I bleeping hate this place, I bleep and hate this place. Then he took responsibility, and that was kind of the turning point for him in Philly. And a lot of people see that as a two-way street. You either do what Alec Bohm did and take responsibility, or you don't take responsibility and you're booed out of the city and you're traded before whatever. Alec Bohm took responsibility, turned his season around, and was one of the better players in baseball. Obviously, people always look at the counting numbers. They're like, oh, well, he was one of the worst defensive players in baseball. It's like, yes, but if you see with your own two eyes, Alec Bohm was pretty damn good over there. And I'm very, very excited. I'm not going to lie, don't know who this is. So I'm just going to put him. It's not Andrew Bellotti. Because Andrew Bellotti that's not Andrew Bellotti. Hold on. Do they have I seriously don't know who this is. Is it Vinny Natoli? Is that Vinny Natoli? Hold on. I'm going to look it up. Hold on. Give me a second here. Vinny Natoli, Phillies. Give me a second here. I don't know who this is. I don't know who that is. So I'm just gonna make a tier. No idea who this is. Not even gonna cap. I couldn't tell you. Does not even look recognizable. Maybe Vinny Natoli. I got nothing. Oh wait. No, that's not. No, never mind. I thought it was Jairo Munoz. I don't think it's Jairo Munoz. No, because Bellotti's right here. Okay, so it's not Andrew Bellotti. Anyway. Derek Hall, I don't want to he's like overrated, but not that's the best way I could put it. Overrated, but not. Everybody was calling for Rhys Hoskins' head after the errors, myself included. But then you really look at peripherals of Derek Hall, and there's oh, he's not much better. Derek Hall was fine in the spot. He's going to probably get a lot of playing time this year with Bryce out in the DH role. He was fine. Hit some good home runs, hit for good average. Didn't see him in the field really all that much. But he's fine. He's overrated, but not. I think that's a perfect tier for him. He was perfect in the role we needed him to be. Gene Segura, no longer with the Philadelphia Phillies. Pretty neat. Clutch hits all the time. Pretty solid defense. Was a great teammate to Bryson Stott. Really mentioned to Bryson Stott about his stride, when he sat a little lower in his two-strike approach. Gene Segura said to him, why don't you use that for every approach? To which he did. And then Bryson Stott turned into one of the better young players. So Gene Segura, pretty neat. I'm going to miss him. But, it is what it is. Andrew Bellotti, good. Very good. I read a great piece from, I think it was Alex Coffey, wrote a great piece about Andrew Bellotti and some of his history. I very recommend you reading that. He had a pretty interesting life where he committed, I believe it was vehicular manslaughter, and then wrote back to the woman about his regret. And then that woman was watching him during the playoffs. It was an incredible story. I would very highly recommend watching that. But Andrew Bellotti, who was one of the surprises from the Phillies season, had a 3.3 ERA, was great in high leverage situations, tackled multiple innings at a time in some instances. I look forward to seeing what he does in the new year in 2023. I think he's going to take a big step forward and be a guy that the Phillies can rely heavily on into the bullpen. Rhys Hoskins, pretty neat. Say what you will about the guy, had an 850 OPS last season, clutch home runs, not great defense, but if you're hitting like Rhys Hoskins does, I don't care what your defense is like. It's the same thing with Alec Boehm. Alec Boehm, I think, is closer good defensively than Rhys Hoskins is. Rhys Hoskins kind of got stone hands over there. But when you hit as well as Rhys Hoskins does, you can't take, who cares how you're playing defensively? And Rhys Hoskins is one of the better hitters in baseball. Yes, he's streaky, but when he's hot, he is nothing. It's like a beach ball being thrown up there when Rhys Hoskins is going. So pretty neat tier. I love Rhys Hoskins. I unfortunately don't think he's going to be a Philly after 2023. I just don't think they have the money for it, or maybe they do. Maybe I'll be surprised. But Rhys Hoskins, pretty neat. Bryson Stott, fine. Here's my thing with Bryson Stott. He showed flashes of being really good, but then he showed flashes of being a young rookie, trying to figure out the big leagues. I think he's transitioning to second base. He's going to be the Philly second baseman next year. I think Bryson Stott's going to be very good next year. I think he's going to take pretty good strides, especially with Trey Turner, who's one of the best contact hitters in baseball. Stott looks to me like a guy who's going to hit 280 to 300 with like 15 home runs a season. He's not going to be a power guy who's going to hit 30, 35 home runs a season, or maybe he will be. I don't know, but that, the way he profiles in his stride, he pegs me as more of a contact guy. And I think having a guy like Trey Turner, but opposite him to learn off of, I think is going to be helpful. And I think Stott is going to take the strides forward to become one of the better second basemen in the league. Castellanos, not great. Here's my thing with Nick Castellanos. Not great 2022. This is based primarily off of 2022. It was not good this year. He's not the guy you signed for $100 million. That being said, I do think he's going to go off next year. He's my top breakout candidate. I do think he's going to hit 30, 35 home runs this year, hit 280 to 300. I still believe that he was dealing with an injury last year, and he just played through it. I really do. Because there's, timelines. He got hit in the wrist in May, and then he was never the same after that. And he was hitting very well before that. I refuse to believe a guy as talented of a hitter as Castellanos can just like that, just turn it off and be not good. He's not great, but obviously he can get to dogging him by the end of the year. Brandon Marsh, good. Brandon Marsh, after getting traded to the Phillies, hit 280, plays Gold Glove defense. He's only going to get better. And guess what? He's super, super young. He's going to be a guy who's going to be manning center field for a long time for the Phillies. And at the time, I thought it was an overpay for Brandon Marsh, but looking at him play, it was a thing that, you traded Logan O'Hoppe for him. This was a kind of a thing that you knew, that catcher position was kind of jammed up. O'Hoppe was ready, but you have JT Realmuto, you have Garrett Stubbs, you have Rafael Marchand. He was kind of the odd man out. And if that's the price to pay for a center fielder who's going to be manning center field for 4 or 5 more years for the Phillies, then that's the price you got to pay. And I think they nailed it with the Brandon Marsh trade. I think he's going to be very good for a very long time here. Kind of similar to Stott, he's going to be a guy who's going to hit for high average, maybe like 15 home runs a year, maybe, and play Gold Glove caliber defense out there. So Brandon Marsh, good. Nick Maton, overrated, but not. Nick Maton plays really good defense. He's going to be on the bench if he's on the starting in the opening day roster. He's going to be a utility guy, plays good defense no matter where you put him. He's not the best hitter, but he does have some clutch moments. but not as many to be like, oh, he's fine, good, he got that dog in him, but he's not great, but like overrated, but like not, that's my stance. Kyle Schwarber, no, dog in him. An NL leader in home runs, narrated the Phillies video yearbook. Just all around great leader in the clubhouse. And I forgot during the playoff run that this was his first season in Philly. Like, he embraced the city so well. Like, the fans love him. He did exactly as advertised, which I didn't know that was allowed in Philly. I love Kyle Schwarber. He was a perfect fit here. And I'm looking forward to what's to come from him. Matt Vierling, fine. Also kind of the same thing as Maton. I just think Vierling's ceiling is a little higher. Matt Vierling, great defensively. He played all around the infield and outfield last season. Primarily played against lefties. If Marsh didn't play center, then Vierling was in against the lefty. So, and he hit pretty well. Like Matt Vierling, I like Matt Vierling as a utility guy. I think he's a solid, valuable piece. And I think if you're going to go for another starter, like I mentioned earlier, I would imagine one of these two guys are going to be in the trade package as kind of a throw-in utility guy. They're not going to be the main pieces, but they're going to be additional throw-ins because they pretty much do the same thing. Maton and Vierling, they both can play the outfield, both can play the infield. I would value Vierling a little more because he can play first base. I don't think I've seen Nick Maton play first base. That's the only thing that I guess would one up Vierling, keeping him. So Matt Vierling, he's fine. Bryce Harper, like, come on, dogging him. He's the MVP, swing of his life. I don't need to explain Bryce Harper being dogging him. He's a top 3 player in baseball. End of conversation. Connor Brogdon, fine. He had a very bumpy 2022. Started really good, then really bad, then fine, then he was pretty bad, but then in the playoffs he figured it out. I'm looking for him to take the strides to be a solid reliever, a guy that you can count on every time you call to him, and I think he is there. It's just his ups are really up and his downs are really, really down to the point where he's unpitchable, and you actively, as Rob Thompson, would look to not really try to pitch him. Sir Anthony Dominguez, dogging him. One of the best relievers in baseball, through his 98 with cut. He didn't know how he was going to look coming out of spring training because he had the Tommy John. He didn't really know how he was going to look, and he looked fantastic. He looked like the guy that we saw in 2018. I was a little worried that they were relying heavily on Sir Anthony, but I'm glad they did. He was fantastic. He was exactly as advertised, and he's another guy that I would look to give a contract extension to, a la Braves. I feel like anytime the Braves get somebody young and good or trade for somebody, they sign like a 7-year, like $10 million contract with them. I don't know how they do it, but if I'm the Phillies, I'm looking to give him some money. Zach Eflin, fine. Obviously, he's no longer on the Phillies. He signed that 3-year deal with the Rays. Zach Eflin, I wish him nothing but the best. Solid guy. Loved him as a person. His story is incredible. A great pitcher. It was a bit of a reliever last year as well. He was fine. The injuries are really what knocks him down here, but when he was on the field, he was pretty effective. Bailey Falter, also fine. He's a guy that I'm projecting to be pretty take a big step forward next year. I like what Bailey Falter has to offer. I thought he showed flashes of pretty good and pretty dominant stretch when Wheeler was out in the middle of August and he kind of stepped in to that rotation. I thought he looked really, really good, and I look forward to the progression that he's going to look. Kyle Gibson, he's going to go in here slash never want to see pitch again. Kyle Gibson, kind of the same thing. I love him as a person, but Kyle Gibson had a 5 ERA. He was terrible. There's a reason he only pitched in 1 game in the playoffs, and that was only because it was a blowout. So Kyle Gibson, good luck in Baltimore. I'm glad I never have to watch you pitch again. Love you, buddy. Nick Nelson, not great, but in the role that he is assigned, he's not supposed to be good. Like, he's fine. Nick Nelson was picked up from the Yankees, and they figured something out. His biggest thing was the walk issues, and his walk rate was down significantly last year. But again, he's not going to be a guy that you go to with bases loaded in the ninth and you need a strikeout. He's going to be the guy you go to when it's 6-0, or when it's like 10-0, you're leading or losing, and you need a couple of innings to save the bullpen. So Nick Nelson, in the role he's in the role he's assigned, he's fine. Overall, he's not great. Aaron Nola, dogging him, one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think he finished fourth in Cy Young last year. He's excellent. He's a guy, he's going to take the ball every fifth day. He's going to give you 200 innings, 200 strikeouts, be dominant. I love Aaron Nola. He's up at the end of the year. I'm looking to give him any amount of money that he wants because he is that good. And yeah, that's it. Same thing, Alvarado, dogging him. Love Jose Alvarado. And he's a guy who had an 8 ERA, goes down to the minors, and had a 1 ERA the rest of the year. He figured it out. He figured out that cutter. His control got it significantly better. He was a guy that Thompson rode the shoulders of during the playoffs, and a guy that I look to be one of the best left-handed pitchers, if not one of the best pitchers in baseball going into 2023. So that's my tier list. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and probably put it on my Instagram, be like, coming soon, or disagree or whatever. Maybe I won't. Who knows? I'm going to stop sharing here. But I thought that was a fun little thing we could do with not a lot of content. I hope this week to get it one or two out. I might do one on Friday. Friday is my birthday, so I might do a little birthday podcast. I'm gonna look to get a couple guests on to talk about some of the moves and the implications that they have and whatever. But that's gonna do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening and all that stuff. Follow, all the socials are down there and whatnot. And I will see you guys in the next one.